A graveyard is never planned in a fledgling hamlet. Deciding where it will go is an unwanted rite of passage forced upon the weary. These chaotic times ensure that loss is inevitable, and you join the village of Trehefod immediately after a 9-hour siege killed off a villager for the first time. Will her closest friends be able to connect with others and risk life's greatest pains in pursuit of its grandest treasures once more? Wow, okay, that was maybe a little heavy. I'm just getting a little bit too into this whole storyline stuff. This is Going Medieval, a wonderful colony sim that's still in early access. It doesn't yet have social interaction, but I'm entwining storytelling with my gameplay to give it that. It's also made in-game events a lot more impactful. I'm doing a challenge run on the hardest difficulty where I don't pause and have modded the game to make raids a kill or be killed scenario. There's a link to the playlist down in the comments below if you want to watch from the beginning, but you can also start here. Let's get back to business. Food and rest call, but there's repairs to be done and a funeral to attend to before the sun sets. Bergwina insisted on a place that's fairly out of the way. Mabel had wanted, to leave this little nook an untouched reserve at the back of a castle. Winna spoke about her best friend the most there. Willem and William alike tried to steal the blame for her death. Theodoric snapped at what he called a sappy and condescending show. It was enough to make the already weary and scared Clement flee. The doctor stormed off soon after. The others tried to stay and help, but Winna insisted that they leave so she could have a few moments alone with her best friend. In the end, she built a simple hay resting place and spent the night there instead of in the comfort of her bedroom back in the village. It wasn't good for her back, which only made the long walk to the village the next morning even worse, but exhaustion and the red puffy eyes of someone who spent the morning crying only make the fiery determination behind them even more striking. Willem, and even Clement worried when she didn't come back that night. But her face is enough to more than assuage those fears. A drink in the morning gets guzzled down while she waits for the chapel to be empty so she can step in to say a last prayer. It's her final indulgence before she gets back to work. There's plenty of gardening to do, and while it would be tempting to lose herself beneath a tree's shade and the sweat of her own brow for a few days, she wants to take over her friend's job and be the builder for the village for at least a little while. That'll include repairs, but she's looking forward to starting on a bridge to the nearby landmass. It was always going to be the first step towards reinforcing the village into a stronghold, but the fact that it halves the trip to Mabel's grave helps to convince Bergwina that it ought to come sooner than expected. She leads the charge, although William is happy to lend a hand. The two don't exchange words while they work, but they do pass a reassuring smile. Alright, I swear the rest of the episode is not nearly as weighty. Look, there's even happy news. A cow is here. It's only one female cow, and she is already fairly old, but I'm still going to get Willem to train her immediately, and then bring her back to the village. His first try fails, but we'll get him next time. Probably. Hopefully. The sun and spirits rise in tandem. With the bridge almost done, Winna asks to talk to everyone. To Willem and William, Winna offers thanks for supporting her and for working towards their shared goal. To Clement and Theodoric, though, she lets loose a dozen lies. She appeals to Clement's desire to belong by thanking him for continuing to work on armor so that they all might stay safe the next time there's an attack. It's far from convincing, but the man wants to believe it so badly that he doesn't even question her. Her purported appreciation for Theodoric's hauling doesn't fool the cynical doctor for even a moment, but with the rest of the village smiling behind her, refusing it would mean confronting everyone. He caved just like she hoped he would. Winna wasn't a natural liar like this, but she saw that it was the best way to get the help she needed to do what Mabel would have wanted, and for that, she was willing to do it. The soon-to-be-completed bridge would let raiders in until everyone had mined the entrances to the plateau up and walled the graveyard off. With her words fresh on the mind to boost the spirits, everyone came together to make quick work of it, even Theodoric. The apple trees by the backgammon tables caused a few others to start growing nearby. Winna chops them down and starts replanting them over on the other landmass. It's the start of what Willem wants, although these won't have long to go before winter hits and starts stunting their growth. Clement's also growing pretty well. He's almost got enough knowledge under his belt to make fine plate armor without ever having actually made any armor. He's also built up quite the reserve of bars to start pumping out high-tier armor once we figured out how to make a metal helmet. The man even looks excited every once in a while. Ooh, another settler arrives. Avoda is a Franklin like Clement, but she's lived a difficult life for completely different reasons. A bad raid hit her home. Although she managed to escape, she only did so by playing dead while a fire raged around her. Unfortunately for her, the genius doctor she heard tales about and has sought out over the last few years has led her to none other than our Theodoric. The well-meaning but naive woman is happy to contribute by mining and building for everyone, and she loves the idea of tailoring even if she's never really given it a try. Most importantly, she isn't following followed by a raid. Except she kind of is. This one wasn't actually linked to her, but the Society of Fellows is back. These are the monsters that brought trebuchets and killed Mabel last episode. This party doesn't have siege weapons, but wants to know what happened to their brothers and sisters that came before them. Good. Let them come. It might have been long enough ago that our settlers aren't emotional wrecks about it, but the mere sight of their familiar emblem is enough to make some of them thirst for revenge. They throw themselves at our walls, but a barrage of arrows takes their archers down one at a time before we turn our attention on the soldiers beating at our doors. It does end up getting a little close, but the few survivors are forced to flee. Hopefully, they tell the rest of their ilk not to come back. Vengeance doesn't feel good for anyone but Wilhelm, but knowing that 15 of the bastards won't be able to hurt anyone else offers some modicum of comfort for the rest. It's too close to winter for any crops to go in this new area, but I can spend the snowy season preparing the infrastructure there to make sure everything's ready to go. The first part of that is going to be a seed vault. This doesn't actually need to be underground, but building it there will ensure it has the smallest footprint possible. A building can go here too, although I'm not going to say what it's for just yet. Winter arrives, which camouflages the chickens. I would give them a brazier to huddle by, but animals don't actually need to keep warm yet, and I'm worried that I'd be eating charred chicken for dinner if I did. The winter means that we can't grow crops, and there should be fewer raids, so there's more time to train skills and start preparing for the future. Training efficiently means not consuming valuable resources when over the experience cap of about 1,300 experience per day. Once they finish that in the late morning or early afternoon, they start handling other work, like making the first building on the new district. It's this kind of steady progress that appeals to my efficiency-obsessed brain. I have so much gear from all those dead raiders, which means that I shouldn't have to use raw resources to train for a long while. While breaking down gear does not give much resources back, it's one of the fastest ways to train a lot of skills in this game. A cold snap hits, but we should be fine. If it gets dicey, I'll just put 3 of my midgets in one trench coat. Unless Willem goes to... Why was he out here? I don't have the faintest idea, but I choose to believe that he was visiting Mabel's grave nearly 3 months after her passing and wandered through the night to ponder life, before realizing why doing that in the freezing cold is a really bad idea. No, Theodoric wants to haul something out here before passing out too. I'm not seeing what's out here. Am I blind? I'm just confused. Everyone does eventually make it back safe, although Theodoric isn't happy Willem dragged him out there to begin with. The two would rather play backgammon against themselves than sit at the same table. And Theodoric's such a baby. He's got good quality clothes, but he's still complaining about the cold. Willem had an outfit that was so threadbare that it spontaneously disintegrated, but he never once complained. This stockpile of wood should have gone in earlier. With that helping out, the shelves in the seed vault come in quickly. Seeds here should last forever, so the plan is to store some for cabbage, flax, herbs, barley, and red currants, and then lock the door after planting these in the spring. That'll keep nearby seeds for spring, and avoids the problem of trained pets getting into your seed storage and eating all of them. That's a problem I'd really be happy to have right now. God, I want goats. I do have other problems though. The light shines upon my poor planning to make a mockery of it. Well, that's an easy fix. I'll just build a wall on that one tile to get over and mine out... What am I doing? Oh. I missed the obvious solution while playing and dug in from the other side to mount at the second level for the cellar. A pack of ferocious wolves decides to wander nearby. I don't think these will break down your walls to get in, but they will sneak in through openings if there are any. That said, they do seem to be running straight at me, so I'm going to not panic and very calmly draft everyone to get some target practice in. We take out 5 before the rest flee off to our corpse storage for the free feast. You know, I said we'd have plenty of stuff to break down like 3 days ago, but I'm already out of clothes to recycle. Voda can make some caps to keep training. My bad, Willem. Good job standing watch all night. Of your own volition, not because I left you out in the cold. I know it might be a little bit early to start this, but I'm going to go ahead and lay some brick stone here so that the walk looks nice even before this building's got anything inside. This is eventually going to be the village's main street, and while floors aren't a good way to train, XP is XP. Although this is especially early, given that you can't even see the laid bricks in the snow. I go ahead and unlock the highest tier of research table, but forgot that it requires a skill of 20 to build. Avoda only has a skill of 15 and no passions. She's at least a season off from being able to finish this, which kind of throws a wrench in my whole plan to unlock heavy crossbows and the best armor in the game for Clement to get working on. At least he'll be a higher smithing level when we do get there. Man, I'm really missing Mabel. She'd put this in right now, and we'd have all that stuff before the first year ended. Well, let's work with what we have. Avoda is a great addition to the colony, even if it's taking a while for people to meet her eye. The cellar starts going in, and she's leading the charge on that. It ends up backing nicely into the nearby seed vault. I think that might not be ideal for temperature regulation, but everything will be cold enough regardless. Although the first chicken's dying is not fine. They've given us about 2 dozen offspring, and they've been cute this entire time, but I guess they're getting a little bit too old. I want to turn them into trophies once I unlock the technology for it, so I think I'll go ahead and store their frozen carcasses. So, wow, that sounds horrifying and not not sweet at all like I meant it. Theodoric is running low on work, so I want to unlock stone cutting and have him start making limestone bricks for the eventual castle. It'll keep him productive, and it's possible to get him to actually focus on it by reminding him that safe settlers need fewer wounds tended to. The cellar gets a little more added on, since this will be a permanent cellar, and thus is going to need to keep a lot of goods. Although it's barely stocked now, a group of raiders attack desperately hoping otherwise. The earlier cold snap and general harsh winter throughout have left them desperate, and even though it's near suicide, they still throw themselves at us. The choke slows them down, and their archers only get a small shot off on Theodoric before they go down in turn. William's bloodlust flares up, prompting everyone to punch him after he said something that crossed the line. I can't repeat it, YouTube would censor me. The man turns back and chooses to smack just Theodoric, funnily enough. Despite that little bit of friction, the raiders are eventually seen off. At least they'll give us some more goods to break down. Having said that, I'd like a couple pieces of decent armor to use myself. Clement gets his chance to shine with some steel mail pieces. It'll be the first armor he's ever made, and he's been in good spirits lately. Still, I can't help but worry for him, and even that's just a fraction of how worried he is about himself. The main cellar will consist of a lot of shelves arranged in a semi-efficient pattern that just looks nice. The seed vault also gets a bit of expansion for herb seeds, apple saplings, and beet or carrot seeds in the future. Other infrastructure can also start going in. That starts with fermentation stations on one side. I think 2 is probably too many, but I'd rather have too much production capacity than too little. It hasn't even been a day since the last raid hit, but a colonist followed by one wants to join. I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm going with Herbert. Herbert is not so bright, but he's actually got more medical skill than Theodoric. He's an uprooted botanist by trade, perhaps because of his perceived inability to make the right call when life is on the line. He prefers sewing, doctoring, and researching to anything else. Most of this skill comes from passions nurtured by a deep desire to overcome being dropped on his head as a kid, and he's well on his way to his dream of being respected for his hard work ethic. A growing number of settlers call for a bigger kitchen and more food being made, so I'll go ahead and unlock the next tier of cooking to throw in a clay hearth here. Clement's first bit of armor comes out as flimsy, despite a skill of 20 and seasons spent training smithing until his brain hurts. As much as it hurts us, it's gotta hurt his fragile ego even more. The man's at least got enough encouragement from others to try again instead of just giving up like he would have in the past. Instead of feeling dejected and hopeless, he's angry. The man knows he can do better, and he's going to prove it. The raiders arrive, and though Theodoric wants to suggest capitulating to their demands to avoid the superior doctor ratting him out, he realizes that saying anything would earn him even more ire. Their soldiers line up along the far edge, which is actually the hardest place for us to defend. They're naturally going to funnel to both sides, forcing us to split up. I'm once again having to split my attention here, which fills my heart with worry after the last time this happened. 3 archers go to either side, plus Herbert as a melee fighter with a big shield on the side that seems to have more enemies coming. He'll help buy more time before retreating when he gets injured. If he gets injured. The man doesn't have any armor on, but he's avoiding or blocking every hit. Stuff on the other side is also going well. The archers are stronger here, so they blow through enemies. The raiders are still numerous enough to get close to breaking through before reinforcements arrive, and with their help, the enemies get seen off. Herbert almost didn't take a hit the entire time. Between steadily improving gear and the marksman skills of our settlers going up, they shoot at the retreating raiders and actually kill every last one off for the first time. There's going to be so much gear to break down that I'll actually need to expand my storage for it. I try to move the old butchering table over so that the kitchen can be an official one. To help fill it with ingredients, I'm going to go ahead and start putting new fields in as the winter comes to a close. Barley goes first, plus a fence around it to section it off. Red currants are next, but instead of fencing that right now, I'll give them paths. Efficient? Probably not. Aesthetic? I have no idea. We'll find out once it's all in. More fences go in around the red currants and this herb garden I'm making. I go ahead and unlock brewing station to throw those on the other side of the kitchen. More paths start to go in to complete this new food and booze area, and honestly, I think it looks nice. In less nice news, Clement made the other set of steel armor into something sturdy. Not awful, but not good either. It's what he would have expected, and the man is pretty beaten up about it. All that training, what was it for? Why bother trying when life just hates you, when it's out to get you? There's no reward for that. Maybe Theodoric had it right all along. Maybe life really is about doing the bare minimum and just learning to be fine with that. Cow! Cow alert! There's another cow! It's even a male, which means that it'll hopefully give us some offspring before the elderly female cow we have right now passes on from old age. I immediately tell Willem to start training them, even though they're super far away. The trip leaves him starving, but he tames the cow in one try and starts leading them back. Speaking of starving, a bug with the campfire means that Clement has called dibs on cooking, even though he's definitely not cooking. Well, it's a good time to start using the new kitchen anyways. It's out of the way for now, but it'll be fine. You know, I've planted a lot of stuff for booze, but no food crops yet. Let's get some cabbage going. I'll also start putting in some new pens. The cows and chickens right now share a tiny pen, and they deserve more room. The cliff face like this can actually act as a wall, and so this fits nicely. The kitchen gets finished first though. And speaking of food, my lack of food crops means that I have to either cook booze ingredients or, well, I do have a lot of chickens, and I'm going to be moving them soon. Culling them would solve a food shortage, help make more booze, and make future work easier. It's a triple win. Wow, these only give me 7 meat each. I guess that means we have more to go down. Well, that's one way to get some time off. Herbert seems kind of extreme, and like he could just jump to the nearby stairs. Well, the first new pen is in. I want to set this one to only take cows. I don't until way later, but I did want to. The second pen can start going in against the other cliff face, using up almost all of the available space, and making this look absolutely sweet. This is way too much room dedicated to food production, but I'm happy for it. The pens get a little roof for the animals to sleep beneath, and Evoda decides to build it rather strangely. Thanks to the fact that she didn't finish all the fencing before putting the pen marker in, and the fact that our base is completely walled off, we now have one gigantic pen that spans our entire village. It's amusing, but it's really not useful, so let's fix that. Once that's done, I can forbid animals from the old pens so that Willem will start moving them over. These wolves are expanding rapidly. I'd be very, very scared to drag a body there. Regardless, that new farmland is just about done, it looks great, and we're close to having a builder that's able to put in the advanced research table we'll need for higher tiers of technology. Theodric is still Theodric, and Clement is starting to give into that pessimism, but things are looking up. I'm not sure how much more the aspiring smith can take, but hopefully the thriving community and future successes help sway him. Better living accommodations and fully exploring booze next episode might help. Make sure to subscribe to see how that comes out. I really enjoy making these videos, but they're a ton of work, and most of you aren't subbed yet. Subscribing helps the channel a lot.